At Dr. Sellars Educate, we help nurse educators and leaders advance their skills, pass the certification exam, and achieve excellence in nursing. Whether you're preparing for the CNE, CHSE, or CNML exam, our coaching programs, masterclasses, and study resources are designed to help you succeed with confidence. We provide a NCC-accredited continuing education, faculty development workshops, and practical strategies to strengthen teaching excellence, simulation, curriculum design, and accreditation readiness. We partner with schools of nursing and healthcare organizations to support faculty development, certification initiatives, accreditation preparation, and educational excellence. More than 5,000 educators have trusted Dr. Sellars Educate to support their professional growth and certification journey. Visit us to learn more and join a community committed to excellence.
The student has created the perfect care plan. Every single detail is captured. We're excited that this particular student is showing so much knowledge, so much depth to their understanding about clinical application. However, when we have the conversation with the student about the decisions that they made related to that patient's care in real time, they aren't able to quite describe it at the depth that they did when they submitted their care plan. So here's our question. How many opportunities did we engage with the student to have this deeper understanding of knowledge that they needed to have? We know that when it comes to submitting assignments, we are all focusing on academic integrity. Is this the student's original work or not? And most importantly, as we're going to explore today, how can we get to a deeper understanding about students' knowledge even before they submit the assignment? How can we engage in independent, thought-provoking development that is going to allow students to make those really important patient care decisions at the bedside? Welcome back, everybody. If this is your first time joining us, we're delighted that you're here. And welcome back to everybody else. We're going to focus with our devotional on day 7. Staying committed to your purpose. So let me go ahead and start sharing my slides. Staying committed to your purpose. I know for some of us, this is a new semester that we have started, so we thought it was very appropriate for us to dig deeper into this exact topic so that we can have a better understanding about what's necessary for us to help our students have a deeper understanding of these concepts that we know is so important for them to have. Let me make sure you all can see that clearly. Okay, perfect. So when we look at our devotional for our time together today, it's a very popular person that we're quoting, and it is Mahatma Gandhi. It says, "The future depends on what you do today." Every great educator has moments of doubt, but commitment to purpose keeps you moving forward. Your teaching makes a difference in ways you may never see, but know that your work is not in vain. So today's action, I want you to write down, what is your biggest teaching goal for the year and a plan to achieve it? All right, so that'll be a little bit of homework. The Bible verse that I want to bring into our conversation today is from Galatians 6:9. "And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up." Another translation says, "if we do not faint." And I know some days, if you're like me, you feel like you're going to faint. There's so much information that we need for our students to have a deeper understanding about. What we want to focus on is, what is it that our students must know versus what is nice to know? As you're looking at, hopefully, your study worksheet that you've already printed out, I want you to think about today, what is it that you want to walk away having a better understanding about? Maybe it's just to understand what the literature, what the research is saying about artificial intelligence. We're going to bring statements from AACN as well as NLN. Or you may just want to go a little bit deeper as it relates to the technology concepts that are part of the blueprint, the detailed exam blueprint. We want to go ahead and give you some references, some page numbers. This is from the 6th edition. You're going to take a look at technology, specifically asynchronous, pages 400 to 402. And this again is in Billings and Halstead 6th edition. Okay, there's a crosswalk to the 7th edition right here in the description. And then curriculum development, page 88 is going to be one source. And then another page that you can take a look at is going to be related to simulation, and that's 503 through 504. Last one is learning experiences with using technology, and that's going to be page 200. It only takes 60 days with a structured plan and with consistent support to get C&E finally off of your bucket list. It took me almost 8 years because life happened. I am a very proud veteran wife, and I also have two sons. And I was in a PhD program and working on my master's degree at one point earlier on, and a full-time job the entire time. So when I say life happens, we truly understand that life absolutely happens. All right, so now let's take a look at what our topic is. AI didn't ruin the assignment. It exposed the assessment. I thought that was really good. Again, AI didn't ruin the assignment. It actually exposed the assessment. It truly exposed the opportunities that we had to go deeper with our students. We talk about the value of formative assessments, but when we take a look back and when we reflect on how many times that we engage in formative assessments, it can often be minimal. Our ability to truly have a deeper understanding about students' knowledge starts with not just focusing on that specific summative assignment. We want to engage in that formative assessment. We want to have the deeper understanding about from our students about what they know and they don't know. I thought this was interesting, so I wanted to share this post that I made on LinkedIn. Some of you, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you may have already seen it. If you don't follow me, I want you to start today. Okay. We actually also have a Dr. Sellars Educate business page. But I thought this was fascinating. So it was announced that $5 million has been awarded to the American Nurses Enterprise. Now think about that. The largest organization supporting nurses has received $5 million to fund AI training for rural and underserved nurses to strengthen AI skills in nursing practice. How does this funding, okay, so this was a thought-provoking question. How do you all think funding influences the way AI is implemented in nursing? Can major investments lead to more responsible AI use, or could the source of funding also shape priorities, content, and outcomes? Now, I think these are very important questions for us as nurse educators and administrators to consider. A&E received the 2.5 million from Google, and J&J Foundation supported them with 3 years of national training, 3 years of the National Training Initiative. They also funded 2.5 million. So that's where the total 5 million came from. But listen to this part. The project will co-design education focused on foundational AI knowledge, safe clinical application, protection of nursing judgment, and effective communication with patients, colleagues, and organizational leaders. The investment represents an important opportunity to strengthen nurses' AI readiness. It also reinforces the need for transparency, independent evaluation, human oversight, and clear measures of impact. Responsible AI implementation requires more than funding. It requires nurses to help determine how the technology is designed, taught, evaluated, and used. So here's a question for you to think about. What safeguards should accompany corporate funded AI education in nursing? So I want you all to think about that. Let me tell you, when it comes to money, it does talk, even though it has no personality, it still talks, right? It has an impact on our ability to execute maybe some strategic goals and operational impact that we want to have. When we have more funding, we have more opportunities. We can buy more equipment. Sometimes we can even justify funding additional faculty when we receive grants. NOLAN has called for faculty development and curricular design. And listen, it's not new. This has been for quite some time. AACN is emphasizing responsible, keyword is responsible AI implementation, clinical judgment, and academic integrity. Here's the reality. We know our students are constantly on their devices, right? And it's not a bad thing. We just need to make sure that there are those safeguard rails in place and that we're knowledgeable about original work that our students are doing versus the assisted work by artificial intelligence. So why is it that we're talking about this topic now? Well, we know based on the redesign that so many organizations are going through, even at the professional organization level by sharing these statements. We also know that our universities and our healthcare partners are going through AI redesign initiatives as well. So here's our question. Can our students defend the content? This topic that we're talking about really does address the immediate pain point that so many of us are struggling with as faculty. It's a pain point because we're trying to discern, right? We're trying to sometimes do magic to determine is this the student's original work, or has it been altered in some way in a dishonest manner, right? That does not support academic integrity. That's the real question. Are we in an environment, a learning environment that is supportive of the utilization of AI, understanding that it doesn't replace that human element and that our students must be honest about it? So that's the question again. Can our students defend and really align with the presentation, with the content that they have submitted in an assignment with their true ability in real life, IRL, as this generation calls it, in real life? Can they have a conversation? Can they have a discussion with us about the actual decisions that were made that were included in their care plan? Remember where we started. All right, so let's go back to our thought provoking question. And then we will wrap up with our 3 key takeaways. All right, so let's take a look. We're going to use Canva as we always do for our thought-provoking question. And then we'll go back to wrap up with the 3 key takeaways. So here's our thought-provoking question. Remember that our goal is to engage you all with challenging questions to enhance your nursing knowledge and assess your readiness related to the Certified Nurse Educator exam. A student submits an accurate AI-assisted care plan but cannot explain how they prioritize interventions. Which assessment revision would best determine whether the student possesses clinical judgment? Right? This is the exact case study that we started with. Now we formulated it into a question. A, prohibit generative AI, increase misconduct penalties, and grade the revised submission. B, require process documentation, evidence verification, and an oral discussion. Or C, permit generative AI, strengthen the rubric, and grade the final product. Now, this is a point where you definitely want to put your NLN thinking cap on. This question is a very generic question. It's not alluding to the fact of what your university or college policy may be. These are basic standards that are published now and supported again by the NLN mission and commitment to supporting the academic integrity levels that are aligned with appropriately using AI. So take some time to review the NLN statement. We introduced it here previously in the presentation, but take some time. If you just do a search on NLN website, you'll see their statement on artificial intelligence. So much so that they dedicated the 2025 conference for that theme, right? They dedicated their entire conference to the theme of artificial intelligence. How do we use it effectively to support the guardrails being put in place that we need to have in place, which is all about, again, academic integrity. All right, so if you chose B, you are correct. Let's talk about the rationale. Clinical judgment cannot be established from a polished product alone. These are the students that submit great content in their paper, in their analysis of a case study. However, when we have the conversation, students may have that glazed in deer heads, and they may glaze over like a deer in headlights, if I can get it out. So we want to make sure that we're verifying through these conversations, through these oral discussions, that students are actually knowledgeable about the content that they presented. Prohibiting AI does not independently demonstrate learning, and grading only the final product may conceal gaps in reasoning. So you can always go back, okay, stay with us. We're wrapping up our 3 key takeaways, and let's see if you have them on your study worksheet that you've already printed out and you've written down some key takeaways that you wanted to get from the conversation today. We want to require the documentation, and we want to have a conversation with our student. I had this experience actually with a student, and the student did struggle articulating to me alignment with the content she included in the paper. So I made it a coachable moment. Of course, I sought counsel with colleagues, with administrators to make sure it was in alignment with what everybody else was doing. So that's a key step, looking at your university and college policies, but also ensuring there's alignment and consistency from faculty to faculty member. So how are you feeling? You have some page numbers to go back and take a look, at least at leveraging technology. Now, when you look at the sixth edition, there's not a lot of content on AI. However, there is in the seventh edition if you have it. So how are you feeling about the concepts that we've talked about so far? One, you feel lost, or five, you feel ready to teach. Remember, this is a transformational process. This isn't about just focusing on a concept and checking a box. That's part of it as you're moving forward on your journey for CNE. But we really want you to have a deeper understanding about the rationale for the incorrect and correct answers. This is why we take some time to really talk through that so you'll have a deeper understanding. All right, so now as we wrap up, we're almost there. These are three key takeaways that we think are essential. Number one, let's no longer try to make every assignment AI proof. The reality is there's no such thing. We cannot guarantee, no matter how great the software is, what happens. Even better software comes along, and then we waste time. AI detection efforts cannot replace that sound assessment design that we want our curriculum to reflect. So here are a couple of pointers. Clearly identify whether AI use is prohibited, whether it's permitted, and this allows our students really to understand our requirement to leverage AI as a tool, right? Not as a replacement. We want to have clear expectations. We want to disclose and put in writing whether or not we require source verification, whether or not we require the original reference, if students did have an initial reference, and then maybe they tweaked it once they put it in AI. This is going to help us at least have a better understanding around expectations with our students. Okay, so hopefully there's some takeaways from number one that can help you really stop focusing on using AI detection software because it's going to change. And then number two, we want to assess that student's thinking process. That's the really important part, right? The students really understand the content and the concepts that I need for them to in order to scaffold their learning. A polished final product, just like we saw in our thought-provoking question, does not prove, again, a polished final product, an A on an assignment, does not prove that learning occurred. We want to require our students to have that deeper reveal as we engage in that Socratic questioning. We want our students to prioritize clinical clues, number one. Number two, to show the evidence supporting their decision and to be able to talk through it. Number three, we want to consider alternatives whenever we think about, especially if it's a situation where students have options, when we think about a care plan, what are the options for interventions? And number four, that brief oral primary, ideally we want it to be oral discussion, but if not, at least having a written discussion about students' rationale for the decisions that they made. And then number three, I love this one. All right, we want to preserve independent demonstrations of competency. Well, first, let's talk about what is competent. It is our ability to think and act safely without inappropriate, keyword is inappropriate assistance. We want our learners to be able to encounter AI-supported healthcare environments. However, they still have to demonstrate that they can think and act safely without inappropriate assistance. So what are some examples of teaching strategies and assessment tools that we can use to help students develop this level of competency that we're talking about? Number one, unfolding patient cases. Number two, let's observe how they're actually making decisions in a simulation performance. Number three, it's that oral, again, clinical reasoning checks, having discussions with students, talking about their rationale for the next step they're going to take in their decision-making process. Number four, timed application questions. We know we see that on NCLEX. We should have our exams timed for a reason, whether that's a minute or a minute and a half per question. And then number five is direct skill observation. We want our AI systems and resources to really support students' learning, not to replace it. That's the message we want students to understand and to have this deeper understanding as we partner with them. How does this show up in our classrooms with our students as far as AI? How can we truly leverage AI in a way that doesn't feel unfair, that doesn't feel dishonest, that feels like we're very transparent from our angle as a faculty member, and students in turn are honest about the resources they're using to support their learning or maybe to validate it. AI may be able to support learning. We just have to make sure we have the right guardrails in place. So here's a question I want you to write down as your final takeaway. Have you redesigned your assignments for AI? Or are you still trying to keep AI out? I think that's a great question. All right, so again, have you redesigned your assignments for artificial intelligence, leveraging that resource? Or are you still trying to keep it out? AI is not going anywhere, it's here to stay. So, how we embrace it really does matter. Our goal is no longer simply to evaluate what students submit, it is to determine whether they can defend their thinking and make those safe patient care decisions when our patients' lives depend on it. AI has not eliminated our need as a nurse educator to engage with thought provoking, open ended questions. It has made our role even more important. Our responsibility is exactly that, is to go deeper with our students, to truly be that partner on this journey of learning that David Cope talks about. This is just a screenshot of the website, one of the websites from the 2025 conference that NLN, or their summit that they have every year. They published this new vision statement on artificial intelligence in nursing education. So, again, I encourage you to just do a Google search. What you will find is that this statement issues a call to action for nurse educators and their collaborative partners in medicine and public health to align with these national priorities, promote innovation. Again, promote it, promote it. It's not a bad word. AI is not a bad word. We just have to put guardrails in place. We want to uphold NLN's core values as we all integrate AI into curriculum design, research, and practice. This was important. So, per NLN, nurse educators, we have an urgent responsibility to become knowledgeable, literate, and confident in the complexities of AI. It does have a power of reasoning, right? We just have to look at how can we leverage it in a way that doesn't feel dishonest, that doesn't feel unfair, that feels consistent and transparent. We want to organize our principles, our health policy implications, and look at those ethical dimensions. That's a really important part, right? We want to do this in an ethical way. Professor Camp was one of our recent colleagues who completed her journey in less than 60 days. Round of applause for Professor Camp. She says the CNN 60 Days Prep course added the structure and social element I needed to meet my goals and pass the exam. What I appreciate the most about Dr. Sellars Educate is the level of care taken to help guide you to identify your gap areas and where to begin closing those gaps in the resources. I also appreciate that the recommended resources list wasn't exhaustive and are resources I'll continue to use throughout my career. Round of applause again for Professor Camp. Now, let me tell you, how is this connected to our content? Well, first and foremost, this journey is about becoming a better nurse educator. It's not just checking a box. Yes, we want to get it off of our list, no question about that. It's about becoming a better nurse educator, using the resources, as we mentioned, Billings and Halstead. We don't make content up, right? We show up here with validated information to help you go deeper in understanding these concepts that are all on the CNE detailed test blueprint. So whether it shows up on your exam or not is really not the important part. The critical part is that you're looking at those nurse educator competencies. Those are behaviors that we all should demonstrate to become the very best nurse educator that we can. We appreciate you all taking your very valuable time, especially at the beginning of a semester, if you're watching this live, to engage in a conversation about how we can leverage artificial intelligence, how we can use it as a tool with our students to help them have deeper understanding of the concepts. And sometimes it's to validate their understanding of a concept. We hope that this snapshot will help you become a better nurse educator, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Have a great one, everybody. Take care. It took me almost 8 years to pass the certification exam. As a nurse educator and even as a nurse, I knew I wanted to achieve my certification in my specialty. And when I became a nurse educator, it was loud and clearly stated that NLN C&E is the hallmark of excellence when it comes to being a nurse educator. So I knew it was on my bucket list. I had no idea it would take 8 years for me to actually get it off of my list. And the reasons why is because first and foremost, I didn't know where to start. Okay. I had no idea what resources to use, and it was hard to find a community to support me that would go along with me on this journey to achieve CNE success. The good news is you don't have to go through the struggles that I did. We have a community with Dr. Sellars Educate specifically designed to overcome and break through those barriers to achieving CNE success. It starts with number one, the right resources, number two, the right experts, and number three, compressing time. 60 days, that's all that you need to accomplish your goal of passing the Certified Nurse Educator exam. The other point I want to remind you all of is that life happens. Sometimes we get off track. And for that reason, when you join CNE in 60 Days program, you have access to the recordings indefinitely. They never expire. So no longer do you have to wait. Do you have to put it off like I did? You're ready now. And we're ready to help you. We're walking along with you every single step of the way until you are successful. Go to our website, drsellarseducate.com. You're going to see CNE in 60 Days right on our homepage, and we look forward to seeing you in the program. Oh, one other point, there's nothing else to buy. Once you register for the 60 Days program, your textbooks, which are going to be Dr. Caputi's CNE Review Book, Billings and Halstead, as well as your study workbook that includes the 7-week study plan, are going to show up on your front doorstep. Okay, so that's the other benefit. So we'll see you over in the CNE in 60 Days program. Have a great one, everybody.